The young and the restless spoilers. It was a night filled with tension and treachery, and the web of deceit stretched further than anyone could have imagined. The predictions about the kidnapper had proven horrifyingly accurate. In a dimly lit room lined with monitors and stacks of confidential files, Alan sat hunched over a cluttered desk. His eyes, cold and calculating, fixed on the small screen of his mobile phone as he watched Phyllis and Sharon, two unsuspecting pawns in his master plan, move about in a frantic dance of confusion and fear. Finally, it all comes together, he murmured into the phone, his voice a silky blend of arrogance and menace. Every detail had been meticulously planned. No one knew the real architect behind this madness, and that was exactly how he wanted it. What they didn't know was that Alan was not who he appeared to be. Beneath the carefully constructed facade lurked Martin, the estranged younger brother of Alan, a man whose cunning had led him down a dark path. Using his uncanny resemblance to his brother, Martin had assumed Alan's identity to carry out deeds that were as dangerous as they were devious. The transformation was so perfect that even those closest to him remained none the wiser. Martin's plan was ruthless. He had engineered a scenario where Sharon and Phyllis would unwittingly become subjects in an experiment for a new, deadly poison he had spent years perfecting. With every passing moment, he gathered evidence on his digital devices, confident that once someone discovered his stolen phone, the horrifying truth would come crashing down upon those who dared to interfere. But fate had a way of intervening. Nick, a fierce and protective man with a strong sense of justice, had begun to suspect something was terribly wrong. A storm was brewing, and Nick was determined to be the one to expose the villain behind it all. His instincts told him that a confrontation was inevitable, and his pulse quickened at the thought of uncovering Martin's true identity. As Martin continued to manipulate events from his secret hideaway, a phone call shattered the silence. "Tell me the location where Sharon is being held, or I'll kill you," he threatened coldly into the device. His words dripped with venom, a chilling reminder of the stakes involved. The situation escalated quickly. Tracy, who had been sitting in the next room and listening in with growing horror, erupted in anger. She turned sharply towards Nick, her voice raised and trembling with fury. "Give me the evidence, prove it, then speak further, don't attack my husband." Her plea was desperate, born from the terror of losing someone dear and the realization that they were all caught in a dangerous trap. Nick's mind raced as he absorbed Tracy's words. His determination to unmask the imposter was unyielding, yet he was also caught in the crossfire of his wife's plea. He knew that every moment he wasted could mean more harm to Sharon and Phyllis, who were now in mortal danger. The room seemed to close in around them, the air heavy with anticipation. Outside, the city slept unaware of the dark undercurrents swirling beneath its surface, a sinister plot that could unravel lives in an instant. Martin, masquerading as Alan, had prepared every detail with chilling precision. His laboratory was a secret chamber lined with vials of poison and intricate schematics of the building where Sharon was held. Every inch of his operation was designed to manipulate, to confuse, and ultimately, to control the narrative. In the midst of the chaos, a silent alarm had been triggered, a beacon for those who were determined to fight the darkness. As the seconds ticked by, Nick's resolve hardened. He would not let this monster escape accountability. The memory of past betrayals and personal losses fueled his determination, and the thought of seeing Sharon's terrified face drove him to the brink of action. Nick took a deep breath and reached for his coat. Every instinct screamed that a confrontation was imminent, and he would be ready. He recalled a time when trust was a given, a time before lies, manipulation, and a thirst for power had turned family members into enemies. Now, standing at the precipice of a dangerous showdown, Nick vowed to restore that trust by ensuring justice was served. Meanwhile, Martin's calm demeanor began to crack under the weight of his own deceit. His meticulously maintained persona of a tormented, wretched soul who claimed ignorance was a thin veil, barely concealing his sinister intentions. With each command he issued over the phone, his inner turmoil grew, his conscience wrestling with the monstrous choices he had made. Yet, the allure of power and the thrill of control pushed him further down the path of darkness. As Tracy's voice echoed through the room, pleading, commanding, and desperate, Nick's eyes narrowed. He mentally retraced the steps of Martin's diabolical scheme, piecing together clues and inconsistencies that no one else had noticed. The phone in Martin's hand was not just a communication device, it was a silent witness to the unfolding horror, a device that contained the undeniable evidence of his guilt. Its eventual theft or discovery would bring the truth to light and shatter the illusion that had held so many captive. In that moment, the boundaries between right and wrong blurred. The desperate need to rescue Sharon and expose Martin's true identity collided with the raw emotions of a family torn apart by betrayal. The stage was set for a confrontation that would not only decide the fate of those held hostage but also the future of everyone entangled in this web of lies. Martin's final words, spoken in a calm yet threatening tone, hung in the air. "You think you can stop what I've begun? You think the truth will save you? Think again." His voice echoed off the walls, a haunting reminder of the peril that lay ahead. And so, with the stakes higher than ever, the characters faced their intertwined destinies. Nick, fueled by love and determination, prepared to breach Martin's lair, while Tracy's fiery insistence on evidence underscored the dire need for accountability. Every moment was charged with the promise of violence, revelation, and the inevitable shattering of illusions. In the midst of deceit and danger, the truth was waiting to be uncovered, and it would change everything. This narrative brings together the dark intrigue of identity theft, the sinister experimentation with poison, and the family drama that ignites the conflict between Nick, Tracy, and Martin. The story is rife with tension, betrayal, and the desperate struggle for justice, a tale that leaves its characters teetering on the edge of redemption or ruin. In the dark underbelly of a city plagued by secrets and lies, every moment was a countdown to chaos. The truth about Alan had been undeniable from the start. He was a mastermind whose crimes would soon be laid bare before the eyes of the law and the public. But as the shadows shifted and revelations emerged, one thing became crystal clear: from now on, he would be known as Martin. This monster, concealed behind a facade of normalcy, had sown enough seeds of destruction, and it was high time for him to answer for his deeds. Nick had pieced together the puzzle of deception with painstaking determination. He had discovered Martin's true identity and the extent of his diabolical plans, which included using Phyllis and Sharon as unwitting test subjects for a series of deadly toxins. The stakes were now higher than ever, and Nick knew that saving lives meant stopping Martin before he could wreak further havoc. Phyllis and Sharon needed to escape immediately from the clutches of this madman, and Nick was prepared to do whatever it took, even if it meant engaging in a brutal confrontation with Martin. The tension was palpable in the cold, dimly lit corridors of the abandoned warehouse where Martin had set his operations. The building, once a relic of industrial ambition, now served as a sinister stage for the unfolding drama. Nick stood in the shadows, his heart pounding with resolve and righteous fury. Every step he took was driven by the memories of those he had lost, and by the fear for the lives of those still in peril. He was determined to confront Martin, to make him confess the location where Phyllis was being held, and to force him to reveal every hidden secret of his nefarious plan. Inside the warehouse, Martin paced back and forth like a caged animal. His eyes, once masked by a veneer of normality, now burned with the cold intensity of a predator who knew he was cornered. Every movement was calculated, every word meticulously chosen, as he issued orders over his secure line. "Everything is going according to plan," he whispered into the phone, a sinister calm in his tone. "But if anyone dares interfere, the consequences will be unthinkable." His voice was laced with cruelty and menace, a stark reminder of the monster he truly was. Martin's voice, though cloaked in deceit, betrayed his inner turmoil. Deep down, he was aware that the web of lies he had spun was beginning to unravel. He had assumed the identity of Alan, a guise so flawless that even those closest to him remained unsuspecting. But with Nick's relentless pursuit, the walls were closing in. Nick had not only uncovered Martin's true self, but had also discovered the elaborate network that held Phyllis and Sharon captive. The location of the hidden chamber was a mystery, locked away behind layers of deception and fortified security systems. Nick's mind raced with the options available to him. In his eyes, there was no room for hesitation or compromise. "I must be strong," he repeated to himself, steeling his resolve. His mission was clear: extract the truth from Martin at any cost. The thought that Martin might hide the information, or worse, that he might escape justice, ignited a fiery determination within Nick. The past betrayals, the lost trust, and the pain inflicted by Martin's twisted machinations now fueled a single, unwavering purpose: to make Martin pay for every shattered life and every stolen moment of hope. It wasn't long before the confrontation became inevitable. As Nick stepped into the dim light of the main hall, Martin's eyes met his, and the tension in the air seemed to crackle with imminent violence. There was no turning back. Nick advanced, every inch a warrior ready to dismantle the monstrous deception before him. "Martin," Nick snarled, "it ends here. You're going to confess everything, no more lies, no more hiding." His voice, steeled with resolve, echoed off the concrete walls. Martin's response was a chilling blend of defiance and fear. "You think you can break me, Nick," he taunted, his voice trembling ever so slightly with a hint of desperation. "You have no idea what I'm capable of." The audacity in his tone was matched only by the cold calculation in his eyes. But Nick was not swayed. He knew that beneath the arrogance lay a man consumed by his own dark secrets, a man who would crumble when faced with the full weight of justice. The room erupted into chaos as the two men clashed in a furious struggle. Fists flew and harsh words were exchanged in the confined space, each blow carrying the weight of unspoken grievances and the desire for retribution. The sound of shattering glass and heavy footsteps filled the air as the fight escalated, a physical manifestation of the battle between good and evil. Amid the melee, Nick's determination never wavered. He was fighting not just for himself, but for Phyllis, Sharon, and every victim who had suffered under Martin's reign of terror. In a desperate bid to force Martin's hand, Nick adopted an unyielding approach. "Talk, Martin. Tell me where you've hidden her," he demanded, his voice a mix of desperation and resolve. Even as the physical struggle raged on, Nick's mind was set on a single objective: to extract the truth, even if it meant crossing lines that he had once sworn never to breach. The idea of kidnapping and torturing Martin, though abhorrent, flashed through his thoughts as a last resort. In the murky world of moral ambiguity, sometimes even the most principled must make hard choices when lives are on the line. Martin's face contorted with anger and fear. The fight had pushed him into a corner, where every lie he had spun was being ripped apart by the relentless truth-seeking force of Nick's determination. "You'll never break me," he spat, though his voice betrayed a tremor of uncertainty. But Nick's resolve was ironclad. With each strike, he sought not just to overpower Martin, but to shatter the walls of deception that had kept the truth hidden for far too long. Amid the chaos, the promise of escape for Phyllis and Sharon lingered like a beacon of hope. Nick had already arranged for a safe extraction, a plan that would see them out of harm's way the moment Martin's location was revealed. The clock was ticking, and every second wasted could mean the difference between life and death. With the urgency of the situation weighing heavily on him, Nick pushed Martin harder, interrogating him with a mixture of physical aggression and calculated intimidation. "I know everything, Martin," Nick growled. "Your lies, your experiments, everything. Now you're going to tell me where you've locked her up, or I'll make sure you suffer until you confess." The threat hung in the air like a dark omen. For a long, excruciating moment, silence reigned. Martin's eyes darted around the room, his mind racing to calculate his next move. The fight had taken its toll, and the realization that his carefully constructed world was collapsing was palpable. Deep down, he knew that Nick's anger was not without merit, that his actions were driven by a righteous cause, a cause that Martin had long since betrayed. As the confrontation reached its fever pitch, the grim determination of both men clashed with the stark reality of their circumstances. Nick's relentless pursuit of the truth was matched only by Martin's desperation to maintain control. It was a battle of wills, a dangerous dance on the razor's edge between justice and vengeance. And in that merciless struggle, the lives of Phyllis and Sharon hung in the balance. For Nick, the next moments were crucial. Every threat, every bruised knuckle, and every harsh word was a step closer to unveiling the secret that Martin guarded so jealously. "I'm done playing games," Nick declared, his voice echoing with finality. "Either you tell me where you're keeping her, or I promise you this, when I'm through with you, there'll be nothing left of the monster you've become." His words were a stark ultimatum, a declaration that the time for mercy had passed. Caught between the unyielding force of Nick's determination and his own crumbling facade, Martin's options dwindled. The man who had once manipulated lives with a casual cruelty now found himself at the mercy of a man who had nothing left to lose. With the weight of inevitability pressing down on him, Martin's voice finally faltered. All right," he croaked, his tone a mixture of defeat and resignation. "I'll tell you, just please, stop this madness." In that charged moment, as Martin began to divulge the hidden location of the chamber where Phyllis was held, the battle lines blurred between right and wrong. Nick's face was a portrait of conflicted determination. A man who had crossed into morally gray territory for the sake of justice, but who still clung to the hope that redemption might be possible even for someone as lost as Martin. The truth, once obscured by lies and manipulation, was now laid bare for all to see. Martin's confession, forced from him through pain and relentless pressure, would soon lead to the intervention of the police and the shattering of his reign of terror. Phyllis and Sharon's escape was imminent, and with each passing moment, the nightmare that had haunted their lives was drawing to a close. In the aftermath of the brutal confrontation, as the sound of sirens drew near and the first rays of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Nick stood amid the wreckage of deception with a heavy heart. The battle had been long and costly, and the scars, both physical and emotional, would linger long after the truth was revealed. Yet, in that moment of quiet reflection, he vowed that the price of justice was one he was willing to pay. For Martin, the path to redemption, or retribution, was now sealed. The monster who had once hidden behind a false identity would face the full weight of the law, his name forever tarnished as a symbol of cruelty and manipulation. And for Nick, the struggle was far from over. As he prepared to escort Phyllis and Sharon to safety, he knew that the fight for truth was an endless battle, one that demanded unwavering strength and a willingness to cross even the most forbidden lines. In the quiet moments that followed, as the police began to secure the area and the rescued victims were reunited with hope, the echo of Nick's final words resonated: "Justice is not given, it is taken." And in that declaration lay the promise of a new dawn, where the shadows of deceit would finally be driven away by the relentless light of truth.